Moana Pasifika. Big players out for them. Well, there's about 50 players that are out. So if I scan through just for the big ones, Sekope Kepu has retired. He's a massive, massive out for them. Solomani Fanaki, I think, was exceptional in the back row. Sad to see him go. Nico Jones was one of those guys that I thought was just unfulfilled talent. Like we all had such high hopes for him, but didn't quite get to make the impact. Area Nari has gone over to the Hurricanes, so an experienced nine and general for them. Giangelo Layuila. Jeez, I don't know why that was so hard. He's gone over to the US. It'll be, always very handy if then could play 10, 12, and 15. Christian Lealiafano, who ended up being their absolute general playmaker. Henry Taifu has gone to Japan's Red Hurricanes. Viliami Fine, I think, was always a handy outside back centre that they kind of call on. Anzelo Tuatavaki played some good games. Nigel Awong owned one of the wings for them last year, so there's still another half a dozen, but just so many players out.
Yeah, definitely. It's Moana, it has always had huge turnover, but it's hopefully they can gather some more consistency. Really, that's what they'll be looking for. So.
Well, I can see where it's going to come from because big players in Artie Sevilla is signing up. Apparently, there's two other All Blacks that they haven't named yet that are looking to move to Moana next year because of the fact that they want to represent. So I'm not sure who they are, but it sounds like it's becoming a much more attractive place to go now that he's the reigning player of the year, isn't he, or not?
No, it was 2023 World Player of the Year.
In my head, he always is. So.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care what the rankings say. He is.
They've also got Pone Fa'amausili from the Rebels, who I would have thought for sure was going to end up in an Aussie side. Tito Tuipulotu, Patrick Tuipulotu's younger brother, we talked about in the new Hot Ship podcast. Also, Jackson Garden Bashop, I think quite a good signing for them as another experienced 10. Solomon Alamalo named at centre, oddly, for them, midfield for them, but then played on the wing in the trials. So I don't know what that's about, but he's definitely a wing, surely.
He looked in great shape, I have to say, but I suppose he did last year as well, and then didn't end up playing. So
look, I think
we'll play the first 2 games.
We know how amazing he was back in roughly 2019, 2020. And then he obviously had his mental health battle that kind of crushed a few years for him. He's gone over to the Tigers, and I don't think really did too much there, to be completely honest. So hopefully he comes back to the game he loves in a team that wants to throw the ball around. Hopefully he's hungry and in a good headspace. And all of a sudden he could be, I reckon, the best value-based draft again. I said this last year as well. But you just pick him and you just hope you get the old Alamalo.
Oh, that was me. I picked him last year and he started round 1 for the Chiefs.
And we all were spewing that you had him.
I thought I'd made it. I was like, I have killed it. And then round 2, he was on the bench, and then round 3 didn't play again. I was devastated. But anyway.
Yeah. Didn't quite unfold like we thought it would. But let's go through the lineups.
Well,
one of the hardest, I would think.
Still worth shouting out the other. I know we don't have to name them all, but 2 other players in Lossi Filippo was absolutely killing it on the for Wellington on the wing there, and played centre for Samoa as well.
Yeah,
and also Tuna Tuitama, who's been promoted. He's someone really exciting to watch. Real dynamic player. So
yeah.
Let's get into it. Starting 15s. Let's go as per usual. Great photo of Artie. He looks fantastic in that jersey. And I think he's going to do so much for the Moana Pasifika team. It's going to be just awesome, him there promoting that.
He was 3rd overall in fantasy footy in his last year in Super Rugby. Do you think he'll be the same or better than that? Total, that's average per game, right? That's not positional. Yeah. He was the 3rd overall as a back rower.
Probably again. I'm happy to pencil him at 3rd again. I think that's safe.
So that's another first-round draft pick for you. Is that right?
That's it, mate. Well, all the best players are my first-round draft picks.
Right.
So,
All right. So the team
front rows. All right. So we have all opted for the same starting front row. So we've all gone Abraham Pole in the loose head, Sam Molly to the hooker, and Pone Fa'amausili in the tight head jersey. Excited to see Pony hopefully get some more minutes and, just be playing every week. That's kind of what we wanted for a while, but he's had very sporadic game time in the last year or two, it's felt like. And on the bench, we've gone for Sama Malolo, James Lay, and the bowling ball, Sione Mafaleo. That just seems pretty clear cut. They've got a few other props, but particularly young props kind of coming through. These guys are all pretty well established, played for years, and kind of that's the pecking order as we see it unfolding.
I struggled a little bit with Malolo. I know that he started last year as seemingly as their first choice, and then Molly kind of took it back off him again. But he's a relatively young front rower coming through. He scores a lot of tries. He's just so damaging close to the line with that kind of low, heavy body shape that he has. So I think there's a decent chance that he starts, and pushes Molly for that starting jersey.
That's a great shout out. I think for sure that's not a locked on Molly be starting throughout the season. I think if anything, it maybe not 50-50, but we'll see a lot of rotation between the two of them throughout the season. Yeah. So good call out for fantasy managers. In terms of the locks, I think we've got a few. No, Harry and Nelson have picked the same thing, and I'm completely different to them. So interesting. Harry and Nelson have both opted for Tom Savage, the old man, the 38 or 39-year-old Englishman, and Craig Allen. Do you want to talk me through that, Harry, before I tell you who I picked?
I mean, they just seem to be their two established locks last year. Like, you've gone Michael Curry and Sam Slade. Like, Sam Slade is a bloke that we really wanted them to pick 3 years ago, or whatever it is that they came in because of his bleached short hair and the fact that he had a running game. And I think he played like 5 games. And then they started picking Tom Savage for some reason. And they just kept picking Tom Savage. So he's only 35, by the way, evergreen. And I'm pretty sure looking at his photo that he can hear us speaking.
He's got cauliflower ears, all right.
Yeah, massive. And then Craig Allen, same thing. Like, I don't have a good reason for Craig Allen other than they keep picking him. And also, I just don't particularly think Michael Curry is pushing him either. Like, I just think they're all serviceable. None of them are doing anything that's going to be exceptional compared to the rest of the competition. But I think they have kind of shown their hand on who their first choice is. And to me, it's those two.
Fair enough. I mean, I'd say the most traditional locks, like Sam Slade, for an example, played a lot of number 8 when he was over in the Major League Rugby and things like that. But I don't know. I really like the looks of Sam Slade and Michael Curry. So we'll see. I think we'll see a lot of movement. And they've got a couple of really young gun locks as well, who I think will push more and more for game time throughout the season. But yeah, so interesting one for that. On the bench, speaking of them, I've got Ola Taulangi, is one of those young guns who I think will push for it. And you guys have gone classic Harry Nelson just for the double back rowers, but that's fine. Getting onto the back row, we've got so Nelson and I have gone for Miracle Failangi at 6. Harry's opted for Lotu Inisi, and that's because Nelson and I have opted for Artie in the 7 jersey, Lotu Inisi in the 8 jersey. But Harry has gone for Lotu Inisi at 6, Sione Havili at 7, and Artie Sevilla at 8. Why do you think that's more likely?
Because Artie's the man, and he's getting the ball at the back of every single scrum, and he's breaking off from every single scrum to whack the 10, and there's no way anybody's getting in his way.
well, I think you're right in that he's breaking off every single scrum to whack the 10, but in defense. So that for that, you're breaking off from the 7 place.
Are you kidding? If they're down by 15 points and you think he's not going to stand at the back of the scrum and pick the ball up and just basically shoulder the whole team, carry them over the line with the entire 15 defenders on his back, then you're dreaming.
Look, I completely agree. I think we will see Artie pack down at the back of the scrum sometimes, but I think the majority of the time we'll be seeing Lotu Inisi. And, mate, it's Lotu Inisi's no slouch picking the ball up at the back of the scrum and then running over the 3 or 4 people in front of him to score a try. So, I don't know. That's just the way I see it unfolding. But you're right. I mean, this is Artie's team now. Everyone else is just a part of it. I can't say passenger. That's a bit too far. But it's a...
And I guess the other talking point there is I went Sione Havili, whereas you guys went for Miracle, Failangi. And look, if this was me just picking the team I liked, I'd absolutely go Miracle Failangi as well. Really love him, love his running game, love his offloads, obviously very good for fantasy footy as well. So it's a good looking back 3 with those 3, or loose 3 with those 3. But I just think Sione Havili is a big leader in that team, and he played week in, week out last year. So although he hasn't got the kind of flashiness as maybe a Miracle, I do think that he's probably the more established name in their team.
I think you just forget that Artie is a 7. He's just a 7 that's so good that he can play all 3 of the positions.
Yeah. He plays eight for the, arguably the best team ever. So I'm pretty sure he's
He's
playing eight.
All right, all right. And then look on the bench for the back rowers as well. As I said, Harry and Nelson both cheated with Samisi Paya, and Harry put Miracle on his bench, and Nelson put Sione Havili on his bench, and I just put Ola Taulangi on the bench for the locks, and then Samisi Paya on the bench there. So
I like it. I do like Talangi as a bit of a specky pick as well. I just thought that, if there's no standout locks, just pick more back rowers. It's always my.
And look, these guys are so big. Samisi Paya could play in the locks as well. The Miracle could play. Was started as a lock, sort of pushed out to 6. So, they all can play wherever. Gonna be exciting. I'm excited about all of them, to be honest. So, should be good.
Yeah. All right. On that note, then the backs, Jonathan Tamatini and Jackson Garden Bashett for Nelson and I. You've gone William Havili at 10. I could definitely see it happening. Nelson and I have left him at 15. I think for us, we went dual playmaker, and I think that's where they've primarily used him in Super Rugby, whereas obviously Havili's playing a lot of 10 internationally now.
Plays a lot of 10 internationally and at NPC. And I mean, I'm going to put it plain and simple. I've just never loved Jackson Garden Bashett. So, he's been a very serviceable 10. But, I'd love to see Havili, who has been playing a lot of that 10 jersey, play there. And then that does allow for who I wanted fullback, which I'll wait till you get there.
Yeah, centers then we've gone, sorry, I will say reserves. I've gone for Isaiah Hallo. I really liked him. Actually, we've all gone for Hallo, who had just a fantastic impact last year when he got his opportunity. You've gone for Garden Basham on the bench. And then in the centers, I've gone for Julian Sevilla 12, Danny Tuala 13. You guys have done the same. So oddly on the same page there for a Moana backline's pretty insane. You and I have gone Finay Anisi, who can on the bench, who can cover centers and wing. It obviously plays primarily wing, but then Nelson's gone for Solomon Alamalo. I don't know if he's putting him there because he's listed as a center or because that means he can now cover every single backline position. But I love that Nelson's got the balls to say that he'll be in the 23 every week. Very, very much how I hope it goes. But outside backs, you and I have gone Naraya Fomai, who was fantastic, and they picked every single week. Nelson's dropped him. Finay Anisi, who got obviously a fair bit of game time, but I just think crazy he's not in his 23. Karen Tamafalau, we all have in our side. Nelson and I have him on the right wing. You got him at fullback to make way for Lossi Filippo, whereas we've obviously got William Havili, as we said earlier, at fullback as well.
Yeah, Tamafalau, who we talked about in the new Hot Shit podcast, and he played last year, obviously, but we're all really excited by him. I just see his best position's fullback. I just think from back there, that's where he played quite a few times last year when he came on, and just he's one of those players that, like all good fullbacks, when he has heaps of space to just see everything from behind, he just comes in and absolutely, destroys everyone. So I'm really most excited to see him at fullback, and that's, as I said, why I want William Havili at 10. So
more than anything, I think we just need him on the park every single week. I like him on the wing because his ability to create something out of nothing is just exceptional with his pace and his short kicking game. But phenomenal player. And I find it really interesting that you've gone Lossi Filippo straight over Finay Anisi as well, who you've got sitting on your bench.
Yeah, he just looks like an absolute weapon. And I was looking up how he was going in the NPC this year for Wellington. He's absolutely crushing it out there on the wing. And just an absolute bona fide finisher, try scorer. And I don't know, to me, like the right balance. So I think he'd be really good there on the right wing. Finay Anisi, I think for me, he's one of these guys that he's just a victim of his versatility. Is that on the bench he's just fantastic that you can bring him in at 12 or 13. And look, I really, really like Danny Tuala, and they actually had Danny Tuala playing a bit of fullback, throughout the last couple of years. But Finay Anisi could push in for a 13 jersey, and Danny Tuala's played some 12 as well. If Julian Sevilla gets injured or anything like that, we could, and I expect we'll see some movement around. I think Moana's been one of those teams where they've moved players around the most out of any team, which hasn't necessarily serviced them well. But
no, I think they need to put a stop to that. And I think they started to reduce it last year. So hopefully that's a trend that continues and they become a lot more settled.
Yeah, for sure. And as I said, they've brought in some new exciting players. So I just saw Filippo was just one of the standouts, I think, and then I was also really excited by Tuna Tuitama, but I'm not sure how much we'll see him feature. And again, we'd all love to see Solomon Alamalo to get in there, but who knows with him? Because I was scarred from last year, I left him off my team sheet. So.
Yeah, same. Injuries for this one, I can't find anything. Moana have published nothing, so I assume they're all completely healthy and fighting fit, and there's 0 niggles in the squad, because that's what Moana have made it look like. So please, if you have any contacts at Moana and that you know that they have some injuries, can you please tell them to publish something so us as fans can get around it? Stocks are rising. I've gone Jackson Garden Bishop. We obviously disagree, but there's just a huge hole from Christian Lealiafano. It's obviously going to be Garden Bishop or Havili. I just think the dual playmaker fits them well, and they obviously use that a lot with Lealiafano and Havili as well. Then the other option that I had there for Stocks are rising was Kyron Tamafalau. Like he's minutes last year were exceptional. Only 21 years old. Lightning quick, great ability to finish. Worth mentioning, he played for Tonga when he was only 20 years old in the World Cup back in 2023 before playing Super Rugby as well. Fantastic for Tasman on the wing in the NPC. As you said, can play wing and fullback out there as well. Just an absolute talent for them.
I think this is a big call for me, but if he's at fullback, I think we could see a type of year that we saw Jacob Ratamatavuchi Neepkins, I can't say his name, last year at the Highlanders. Do you know what I mean? He's that type of player, and he could have an absolute breakout year there at fullback, which is what I'm hoping for from him. So absolutely.
Well, I think they need him to be honest.
Definitely. Stocks are falling. It feels sad to say this one, but Lotu Anisi, we talked about this in a previous podcast, and that's just by the virtue of Artie coming in. When you're the big number 8 that gets every single carry last year and was absolutely destroying in fantasy, when Artie Sevillas just joined your team, I think immediately your carries have just been halved. I think that's just straight off the bat, at least. Still expect him to play a big role for the team, but he can't be crushing it fantasy wise the same way when Artie's there. So it'll be good. As we said, I don't think that'll change him starting. I think we'll still see him in the back three every week, but in the back row every week. But anyway,
it is quiet, relatively speaking.
Yeah, and Smokies, we've all actually had the same thought. Really, there's 2 of them here, but Isaiah Hallo has just been absolutely great in the few opportunities he did get last year, and with Inari moving on, there's that fight for the halfback position is on more than ever. So we've all opted for Jonathan Tomatini to be starting, Hallo on the bench, but that could well change throughout the season. So he could be really, really good. And the last Smoky we've just got here is we don't have it written down. I'm just throwing this at Harry now. Is Solomon Alamalo. could he come out? I just couldn't resist. I'm sorry, I had to. He'll be the eternal Smoky, Solomon Alamalo.
Yeah, nice. I'm not against it.
Harry, where are they finishing?
I think they're last.
They're last?
Yeah.
You're calling them the Sun Moana?
No, that's still the Sun Crusaders.
Sunzaders?
The Sunzaders.
Yeah, I guess it's like, who can you see them finishing ahead of? I mean, to be fair, I didn't see them finishing ahead of the Tars last year, and they did. So
didn't take much.
Didn't take much. I can't see that happening again. I can't see the Tars finishing last year, but I think
their competition is Western Force, Highlanders, Crusaders, probably.
Yeah. For me. It's basically, is it going to be the Force or Moana really? And because Artie's there, I'm going to back Moana to come second last. So there you go.
Wow. I just think they have so many holes. The problem is, I look at that tight 5, and that's just not to the level of any of the other teams that we've previewed, to be blunt. Their back row for some outrageous talent. Like, I think any team will be happy with that. But then again, they're 9 and they're 10. Like, Tamatini was more or less a bench option before coming and becoming their main starter at Moana. Garden Bishop, as we said, doesn't kind of light the world. They set the world alight by any means. Sevilla was kind of looking like he was at the end of his career before coming over and shifting to the centres and getting a bit of a second go at it, but didn't make a lot of line breaks or score a lot of tries last year. Like there's not a lot of outstanding players there. It just happens that their back row is outrageous and they've got some finishing power, really, to be honest. So I just think that's too much to overcome, even for Artie.
All right, so you just think they're good for fantasy pickings, but otherwise,
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I think everyone would probably agree with that. So I think we're looking for 10th or 11th. No one would be upset if you said 11th. So
Yep.